Vegetable gardening or flower gardening?
Uh-oh, all the news that's fit the print snuck in.
My neighbor wanted to know what I was growing, and it was so green. I think he thought I was growing something illegal, but they were just zinnias.
You going some hash over there, Miss Hunter?
No,
Little Mary Jane.
Little Mary Jane over there.
no, I don't think so. Never tried it.
You have a lot of fun at these
Not
meetings.
even once.
I haven't either.
You're not old enough.
Is that what it is? I'll smoke cigars and drink a lot of bourbon. He's lying.
Yeah.
No,
You were at Woodstock.
You know,
Oh,
I'll tell you a story about Woodstock. I was riding the road for Caterpillar. I was the rep in that area. And they had that, you couldn't get up 17. I had all I could do to get back home.
Cause you were,
No, I've never,
But for a wreck, you would have been right there.
Yeah.
no, I grew up with a dad that was fire chief. And all I ever heard in town was, don't you dare embarrass me.
My dad quit standing to me a long time ago.
Oh, I got past that early.
Shredding it, they're turning it into fiber for clothing. And then they send the fiber all over the globe for clothing.
A friend of mine ran a plastics company, $300 million a year. And it was a recycled carton.
It's all pliable.
More bottles.
I'm just saying, it's all comes out.
That can't be done.
I didn't
But
see
you
your
gotta have some
friend.
investment. You gotta have people.
Well, this is a fabric company that put it into their facility.
Yeah.
They put a whole new wing on it.
What do you
nothing
think?
but recycling.
Are you talking about over here?
My stalker, harasser. That's what he thinks. I'm not going to Morgan County, thank you.
David Hillary.
That's where it is?
Yeah, but it's not gonna be there.
You just don't want to get it over with?
Blessed to be here.
Well, it should have been over with on Wednesday.
Did they ask for continuance?
The guy said he's not coming in to plead guilty until June. I didn't think you had a choice. I thought it was called a bench arrest, when you don't show up at court.
When's the trial?
Okay, so they've got recyclers.
He's trying to get out of it.
Is there a way to tie on, work with them?
We ready?
Is Coach gonna be here?
I don't think so. I don't see him unless he's on his way.
And we use their cover.
Larry not here today?
We use their paper.
No.
Okay. We got a quorum.
Worth more than that.
You got one, slim one.
Barely. When did you resign?
What's that?
When are you gonna resign? At the end of this meeting?
No, it'll be,
Sorry.
next commission.
I will keep
June.
reading.
Okay.
It's June 5th.
Here, Patricia.
Oh, more stuff.
Do you like papers?
I do not.
Can you sign that?
You just think I do. Actually, I can always find my paper copies before I can find
Digital.
anything else.
Should be on. Camera's on.
It is.
Call this meeting to order. Roll call. Mr. Colin,
Here.
Coach Satterfield, Adam Waller here, Miss Hunter,
Here,
Dave Hall,
Here.
Larry Rowland absent, and there's no Lone City representative. Approval of April 20th, 2023 minutes. There's one small change at the top. It says met on March 16th, so that just needs to be updated to April 20th. Any other changes?
I have lots of changes.
Let's go.
Let me find my minutes. Voting minutes. In?
There you go.
Okay. The first correction that I would like to make it says the commission was represented by Chairwoman Ms. Pat Hunter, Mr. Adam Waller, Mr. Henry Cullen, Mr. Larry Rowland, Mr. David, his name was spelled incorrectly. It's Rolen, I believe. Mr. David Hall and Mr. Bill Satterfield. Miss Elizabeth Murphy, legal counsel, LCS WDC, was present also. Other attendees included Republic, capital S for services, and its representatives included, and then it can be the names, Mr. Klassen, Mitchell, Dixon, Hollingshead, Ms. Fox, Ms. Taylor-Bovich. If you can eliminate, along with commission-appointed attorney, Ms. Elizabeth Murphy, she should really come right after the members of the commission.
Okay.
With regards to the comments, Ms. Michelle, I'm going to request that the comments regarding Ms. Harris and Mr. Anklin, to strike those completely. Instead, and I'll hand this to you so you'll have a copy of it. It'll be so much easier. Okay. Michelle Harris Fritz addressed the commission about making a records request. She did not receive the records. Instead, she received an email stating more time would be needed to retrieve the records. She also spoke about LCS WDC violated the bylaws by delaying the March election because of the absence of one commissioner, when previously in 2021, the Solid Waste Commission held their election in the absence of the commission chair. Mr. Richard Anklin, Tellico Village resident, questioned the fill date of November 2024 in the HHNT report because they use 640 tons per day, when in fact that tonnage hasn't been achieved since the 2012-14 time frame. And he presented cross-section, non-scale drawings to show that those dormant cells could receive more waste, thus by extending the fill date to November 25th, when both the tons day and the cross-section drawings would confirm the extra time to fill date. The next correction, if we can move down to motion, Chairwoman Ms. Hunter asked for a motion to open the election of nomination for chair. Vice Chairman Henry Cullen requested the election of officers be moved to the beginning of the meeting after public comment. And then really the whole next paragraph needs to be eliminated. He presided over the nomination of chair. Mr. Hall nominated Mr. Waller with no other nominations, voting aye. Cullen, Hall, Rowland, Satterfield, and Waller, no, Hunter, and it passed, PASSED, 5-1. Vice Chair, Mr. Satterfield nominated Dave Hall with no other nominations, voting aye. Cullen, Hall, Rowland, Satterfield, and Waller, abstained, Hunter, passed, 5-1. Secretary, Mr. Satterfield was nominated as secretary, but he declined. Mr. Henry Cullen volunteered to serve as secretary. So, the other thing is, when it came to the motion to have the county attorney look into the Jackson law, Ms. Hunter motioned to request a legal opinion from the county attorney regarding the expansion permit and its application to the landfill expansion. Mr. Hall, Mr. Satterfield seconded the motion. It passed 6-0, and we really need to eliminate opposed. It either passes or it doesn't. The same thing with the following motion. It passed 6-0, no opposed. Mr. Waller asked for a motion to accept the resignation of Chase Randolph, Secretary, LCS WDC. Mr. Henry Cullen, his last name was left out, A motion to accept the resignation, and Mr. Satterfield seconded the motion. The motion passed. Please strike no opposed. The last one, there were just small typos, and I'll be glad to submit this to
Will you,
her and you.
and we're not gonna vote on all these changes tonight because there's so many, so let's get it cleaned up and we'll approve these minutes at the next meeting in
Okay.
June.
But those are all the
Yeah,
errors.
I mean, if we could get them at the workshop, that would be helpful, and then we could just approve the minutes as modified.
So yeah, just email it to us and then we'll vote on it in June. My apologies, any public comments? I apologize.
You're asking for public comment?
Yes, yes. I couldn't enjoy my meeting without hearing from you, Rich.
Sorry.
I couldn't enjoy my meeting without hearing from you.
In the workshop, I discussed the response from Republic, and their conclusions were different from mine, which is obvious. Their answer for the cross sections that I asked for on this drawing was that they could not add any more fill to the top of CA2, CA3, because the approved footprint doesn't allow them to expand beyond the 41. And the height on the drawing that was provided, if I have it handy right here, the one with a lot of pluses and minuses on it, you recall what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
If you are only looking at those drawings instead of the intent, if you recall, Mr. Chairman, you were on the phone in the previous workshop and asked why couldn't they close C2, C3? That's what prompted me to put the section drawings together. The main purpose of that was to demonstrate that when you look at this drawing, which is the 5467, there are modules adjacent to those areas, modules 1, 2, 3, and 4, which will rise up above the feet that were shown on the other drawing. Because what you're gonna have is the slope now is going to be from out here, not in here. So you are going to add material to those. That's exactly why CA2 and CA3 are not gonna be closed until 34 and 36, which is exactly what I wanted to demonstrate. So I think we're both right. Their response saying that they can't go any higher than the existing footprint and elevations as per that particular drawing. Except as soon as you get to modules 1, 2, 3, and 4, all bets are off. Because you're not gonna bring that up to a height that's different from the height over here without sloping in through there. And it's gonna be a lot of material put on top of those cells that are dormant and have been dormant. That was my point. Do I make myself clear on that? You look like you're not.
Oh, I get it. I'm just ready to ask Republic if that's accurate or not.
I stand by the engineering drawings that were submitted.
That doesn't answer the question. I mean, is there gonna be more added to 1, 2, 3, and 4? I guess is the question.
I'll get the response.
Because if you then took that same section drawing, 1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C, through the expanded footprint, it will prove the point. They will add materials to cells CA2 and CA3, and eventually CA4, because cell number 5, 6, 7, and 8, which wrap around the corner, will dump up on those too. Now, the contract is very specific, 2034, 2036, 2038. I understand that. But in response to your question, why can't you put more material there and or close those earlier, that's the answer. They're gonna put more material on top of them when they expand 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just elementary. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would like to say one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I submitted questions for Republic to answer or address. And when the gentleman attended our March workshop, Mr. Cunningham, he took notes and he said he would address my concerns. And I followed up with written questions, so I would like a written reply. And mine had to do with the tonnage, and I had historical information, which I put into a spreadsheet and also provided at least the Solid Waste Commission, the origin reports, and the information that was obtained from the reports to show that the tonnage was far less than what they were using in their calculations. So I would like that addressed.
So their, if I can ask a question, their response that they gave to Mr. Anklin's
No, it just.
questions,
No,
and one
it
of the
is-
questions was on tonnage and density and all that, that didn't answer your
No,
question?
no, it did not, because mine specifically has to do with, I gave factual information, and Mr. Anklin was talking more in generalities. I want to know why we were told in the entire year of 2022 that the closing was not going to be until October or November of 2025, which was contradictory to what they said in January of 2023. And as a basis, I had all the information from their reports. When I asked for the aerial, I was told by Mr. Klassen, you know, look at the reports, monthly reports, because that is telling you what the date of closing those cells. So I think it's a little bit different.
Send me those questions and I'll send them and ask for them again.
I think I already did, but I'll send the supporting documentation that shows how the report all through 2022 showed a closing date of October, November 2025 based on the information they provided. So,
Okay. Anything else?
one other thing, remember I mentioned Mr. Hendrick with the East Tennessee Development District had attended our March meeting, and he wanted to make sure that our minutes, and I'll send this to you too because there are lots of corrections, that it specifically states that he did attend the Solid Waste Commission meeting. He did present the 2022 annual progress report, the data for Loudon County, as well as a handbook on the role of a regional solid waste board. He offered more detailed training with TDEC and how to apply for this service. And I told him that I would definitely bring it up, not only at this meeting, but I would ensure that those corrections are made in the March 16, 2023 meeting minutes. So I'll send you these also.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
That was the chart I was talking about. That has the elevations. And if you really study this thing, you could see that there is significant room in this vicinity next to 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. Next, commission pay. I don't really be paid as much, so I would like a motion from somebody to bring the chair pay back down to $75.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Part-time administrative assistant. Still haven't gotten an answer from the individual yet, but does this board feel like we need one?
I personally do. I think that the function of the chair should be something that someone who's working full-time can do and not impose undue time and effort on their personal life. And I don't think we're there right now. I mean, you've experienced that for a couple of months now, or a month. So I think an administrative assistant and some of what you just gave up in terms of pay would pay for that, would be beneficial and help the continuity of the commission from chair to chair
Yeah.
and, you know, so.
Okay, the mayor's working with her and what her pay expectations would be, so hopefully June we can vote on that position, so.
I would like to see the position advertised and give other people an opportunity to apply for the job. Because being an administrative assistant, we need someone more than just a clerk. There's, I know from personal opinion, my personal experience, that there's a lot of work involved. But I also know that if we send everything that we prepare to Republic, we can reduce a lot of that work because they prepared the packet. So if I send Mr. Hollings, would send Mr. Hollingshead the agenda and any supporting documentation, he could make copies and then consolidate everything. So if we're going to hire someone, I would like to give others an opportunity. And many years ago, actually, the Solid Waste Commission talked about hiring somebody or hiring a temp to do this. So there were other options on the table. You know, without knowing who it is, we don't know if they're up to the challenge, to be perfectly honest.
Is this going to be a county employee or solid?
They already are a county employee, and they're already an administrative assistant, already have office space.
I think that's a huge asset,
Yeah,
that they know the systems, they know the people, they know IT, they know how to get minutes posted, you know, it's records management. I mean, everything we've got that's kind of hanging out there in terms of not quite finished has to do with, you know, county interface.
I would like to know at the next workshop who it is and how much we're thinking about paying also.
I'm hoping to have all that and vote on it at the next workshop, or at the next, we'll discuss the next workshop and vote at the next meeting. Meetings, I know we discussed a little bit about moving workshops before, and I know that I talked to Gary, who's hopefully gonna be voted on in June to take Commissioner Collins' place, but I think the consensus is for workshops, we have workshops for bigger items, not just to recite what we're reciting again tonight. So we'll address that when Mr. Bush comes on. Invoices and reimbursements, I know there was one in the packet from TV3 for $50, and this will be the last payment to them for the overlapping recording of the April meeting. There's also one invoice from a public notice sometime in April for New Sentinel for $33, and Miss Murphy for an additional retainer, plus a retainer for the technical advisor or technical assistant. So there's those to look at. So I'll need a motion and a second to approve those two invoices. Well, 3, including the one you had in your packet from the workshop for TV3 for $50.
Will that include the stipends for this month?
My apologies, yes, the workshop stipends and the stipends here that y'all signed, the workshop and here, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditures.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
May I say something, Mr. Chairman?
Please.
I think that in the minutes, one thing that is missing, we don't state when somebody is absent, and I think it should. And the other thing is, I think that it should state that Lenoir City's appointee has not been appointed. I think it's important to document that we have a government body that is not participating in, you know, we have an interlocal agreement where all three entities are supposed to participate. And since the resignation of Mr. Stewart, we haven't had someone from Lenore City, so I think it needs to be stated in every meeting.
Okay. Ms. Murphy, thank you for being here. Anything you want to say?
No, I'm working.
Thank you for working.
While y'all are talking, I'll just keep working for you.
Thank you. Jackson law, so I think it was determined that the county does fall under Jackson law, so I know Bob Bum is looking into it, and he's slammed, so he's gonna talk to the commission, county commission side of things, but that doesn't stop us from doing anything we can to expedite this process as quickly as possible. I know the city of Loudon is also, or the city of Loudon is also looking into see if they ever adopted the Jackson law. The mayor said he wasn't aware of it, but he would check as well. So phase one update, I know you guys sent one back, which the Jackson law is a big piece of that. The other elephant in the room is the Regional Waste Authority having to meet for that, and we have a 10-year plan that's very outdated apparently. So as we start going down these rabbit holes, we're finding more problems. So we're gonna have to update our 10-year plan. And that's been brought to our attention, so we're working diligently on that because phase one needs to be approved yesterday. So we're working quick on that. Dave, do you have anything for Poplar Springs? Do we want to take a vote and say, county, you're responsible for it 100%, we don't want anything to do with it?
Before we move on to that,
Oh,
with
sorry.
regards to the Jackson law, do you know when Mr. Bowman will have the legal opinion
I
with
do
regards
not.
to that?
I do not. And I tried calling this afternoon, but did not have any luck getting him to ask that question.
What about you, Mr. Chairman? Can you get him on the stick?
I can even call him.
He's the chairman of the county commission.
Oh, I agree.
It's a commission issue.
It is. Poplar Springs,
Based on the review of, what's it called, the MEP? Is that the correct term? Anyway, the maintenance inspection program clearly states that it's the responsibility of the county. And so I don't think that waives anything for our responsibility downstream on Matlock Bend, but it does take Poplar Springs off for that reason and reasons that Chairman Hunter elaborated on in the workshop. So, yeah, I'd say we're out of the Poplar Springs business, other than maybe some financial aspects.
I found the resolution, but I haven't found that it was signed, the 10-year resolution. I'm gonna see if Ms. Wampler can help me find that. But I think that from everything that I can see, we're simply not part of that process. And I would hope that we can, since the county entered into the 10-year agreement, we did not. We didn't even have anything to say about it. I would like to make a motion to transfer the money that's left for Poplar Springs with some kind of an agreement or something from the Solid Waste Commission attorney that states that we're transferring the money to them with the understanding that we do not have a liability in the Poplar Springs. It is something that the county entered into, and we just want to make sure that whatever money is left in that account currently, that they use it for Poplar Springs, and that we left out of the process completely.
Wasn't Chris Parks looking after that?
Chris Parks is the one who inspects that on the
Yeah.
county's behalf, so.
But there's still two things that are outstanding. There was the as-built drawings that were supposed to be submitted to TDEC that were not. There was supposed to be some water testing of the neighbors nearby. To my knowledge, that has not been done. And see, we can't do anything with regards to, enforcing that or requesting that that be done. We're just simply not part of that process.
So make your motion again, just the motion.
My motion is to transfer the remaining amount of $27,000
yeah.
and change to Loudon County for Poplar Springs, and that our attorney prepare a document that, you know, handles the transaction and removes the Solid Waste Commission from the liability of Poplar Springs.
Before you make that motion, I need some background on Poplar Springs.
I'll-
I'm cold on that.
I'll send you a whole folder.
We don't need to do that because you don't need to waste your time and bill us for that. Dave, you want to tell the
Yeah,
elevator
just
speech?
tell me what the scoop is.
Old landfill, private citizen bought it. The mayor said, the county will help make sure it's in compliance for the next 10 years. We set aside some money to maintain the landfill through X date, which is a couple years away.
We, the commission,
County commission,
the county did.
county commission.
Loudon County Commission.
And then they kind of transferred the money over here to us and said, the money's with Matlock Bend to maintain Poplar Springs until that MIP
Yeah.
runs out.
Who's the permit holder?
I don't think there is one at
It's
this
closed.
point.
It's been closed.
It's an
for a
old
while.
landfill that
There's
was
a-
closed.
There's a
Was-
private
who
owner
was-
of the land.
And it was
okay.
before the Solid Waste Act.
Okay,
So
and then who's the owner of the land?
Some private
it
citizen.
is a private citizen, Mr. Newton.
The county was just nice enough to say, we'll help take care of it for you.
Oh, okay, so is there any contracts that?
Nope.
anybody
Not
has
between the
contracts?
Solid Waste Commission, it's strictly Loudon County Commission.
Is this the no good deed goes unpunished
Mhm.
category?
Yeah.
Okay, so no contracts that the commission has with the landowner and there's no permit holder?
I'm talking about the Solid Waste Commission, we have nothing.
Okay,
We're not involved in the 10-year contract, we're not involved.
who is involved in a 10-year contract?
It is
County, the mayor.
Loudon County
Mayor.
Commission and more specifically the
TDEC's
mayor.
inspection and violations were sent to the county.
Ah, okay, so that's what tipped this up is the
Yeah.
NOVs. Could you modify, Ms. Hunter, if you would consider maybe modifying your motion that the transfer of the money is what the commission intends to do, but subject to me clearing some traps here to just make sure that I can write up a list of it's this, it's this, it's this. I can't tell you on the spot right now what I can remove the liability because it doesn't sound like you have any. So I would the first question would be to assess whether there's, anything for the commission to be concerned about that I can identify and just do some fact checking and give me just give me a fair time period to run that trap in one page and write back and fact check it and then
And that's
Subject to
really
that.
what I wanted
So
in
do
my
you
motion.
want to do that and then we
yes,
vote on your letter and money in June?
yes. Let me
Well, I'll
do the
withdraw.
homework first.
You're gonna have to get Aaron, transfer the money to a line item
Yeah.
in the county budget.
So is the important feature of this to put the county clearly on notice that we don't have any responsibility regardless of where the money lies? Or is somehow the transfer of the money transfer liability? Because if it doesn't matter. We're just, we can hold the money and they can spend it when they spend it and
What was the source of the money?
I think it was
Originally.
Matlock Bend money they just set aside. I'm not,
In the
No.
very beginning,
Poplar Springs,
it was leftover
Poplar
Poplar Springs
Springs.
money?
yes.
Okay.
It's leftover money from Poplar Springs when they closed it 35 years ago. There was over $500,000 there at one time. And they spent about $400,000 doing
On
an engineering
attorneys.
study on it.
And attorneys.
They got trapped with
Damn
TDEC
Trying
beyond,
to listen.
they got trapped with TDEC beyond the 20-year life. They came back and said, oh no, you got 30 years now. Nobody seemed to know who the heck is gonna be doing this because the property was sold as is, where is, to an LLC. When they came after them to go after fixing it, the LLC says, I'll close up before I do that. And it, spun around for a while. Then and said, I'll take it. And he did. We've always held the money, but we've never been responsible for Poplar Springs. Poplar Springs is about 5 miles down 72. Left between 72 and 444 over by Tellico Village, back in by the river.
So the question about the money that I want to dive down to is, regardless of how big the account was initially, you've got 27,000 left. Where did that money come from in the sense of what was it paid in for?
It was originally from the fees collected for putting waste into Poplar Springs. When they closed it, that's what was left.
Got it. So this has just been ticking down.
Yeah.
Costs, closure costs, things
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so it was tipping fees originally.
From the tipping fees originally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Loudon City, actually, it was called the old Loudon landfill, and it got dubbed Poplar Springs because that's where it's located. Loudon City was the fiscal agent. When Loudon,
You know what, that, you've given me enough to
Okay.
dial in, and then I can ask some questions and get my little fact sheet together, but I think Mr. Hall just made an important point that if, and I'm sorry, I can't be more helpful, but I didn't know anything about this before you mentioned it. So if you want to, I can get the facts together before you try to make a decision on transferring or not transferring the money, because he's right, there may be no liability issue at all, in which case you want to make an independent decision about how to utilize the money. So I just need some more information. I'm not quite that good.
okay, well, I'll withdraw my motion.
And we'll address it again in June.
And no, I'd like a motion, no surprises for legal counsel, please. Try to let me know ahead of time so I can be prepared. I'm sorry, I didn't know anything about that.
Complaints. Brian Byers was gonna come tonight, but he's not here. I know that you've talked to TDOT.
Yes.
I know y'all seen the TDOT letter. What do we do?
Well, I did contact Sarah McBride, who was very cooperative, and did sort of an informal email and said, you know, send me all the data so I can see what you're seeing. I just got it late this afternoon, then got in the car, so I haven't watched the film or looked at all of it. But it seems that there must be some other way to get a fact assessment out there. Do you have cameras that you?
We're uploading photos on a daily, hourly basis now to a portal that is public.
And where is that portal accessed?
Is it Dropbox?
It's a Dropbox.
And commission has that link as of today. Did I not send it to you?
Okay,
I'll send it to you if I didn't.
it's a Republic Dropbox,
Yes.
is that correct? No,
Yes.
it's not a county
No,
Dropbox.
they sent us a
It's
Dropbox
yours.
link that has
We
pictures they
get a
upload.
limited invite to come in and look at
Yes.
the pictures, right? Okay. And you're taking pictures, those pictures come from where or what?
They come from our entrance up and down the road of the roadway.
Is that the road sweeper guy that's taking the pictures?
I think
I take them, the supervisor takes them, the
Okay.
sweeper operator takes them, and if we're not available, the scale operator leaves the scale house and goes down and takes them.
And when did that start?
Last week.
Okay, so we've got a week of,
I think we've got don't we have more than a week?
I can upload, I was told to upload a week, but I can go back for quite a while.
Yeah, we've been doing it for at least a month, but formally we've been doing it for a week
all right, so
through that Dropbox.
there's about a month's worth total, whether they're up yet in the box or not.
Yes.
Okay. And it's and the photos are all being taken with just a cell phone,
Yes,
and you just take pictures, ground level.
ground level, and then,
Do you have certain locations you said, okay, well, this is point A, B, C, so anyone who's out taking pictures, go to A, go to B, go to C? Or are you
No.
just all kind of taking pictures where you want
I
to take
just, well, I personally go down one end of the road, I take a picture going down this way, and then just the actual
Okay.
entrance itself.
So each person's kind of got their own route of what they do. Okay, all right. Just to share this, as I understand it, you know, TDOT, this isn't really what they do, but when they get a request from a legislator, now they have to respond, right? So I think that was why TDOT ended up in it, but they don't really have enforcement authority, and they don't. It comes back to the commission and the commission enforcing whatever the contractual arrangement is with you all. So we just have to fact collect at this point, and then we'll see what we see. I don't know yet. I'd have to have more than a week of pictures to give anybody any thoughts and advice.
We get the rest of those pictures in that Dropbox. Thank you. Do you want to discuss the notice of violation now, or wait until we get down further in your?
Whatever that letter's updated as of today.
We just got while you were driving.
May I say something before we move on?
Please.
The pictures that I have received from Mr. Byers, and I sent them to you, show the trucks with mud on the tires. Somewhere in this contract, it says that we're supposed to have security at the landfill. I think that we should have cameras there at the landfill to comply with the security clause in this contract, in the current contract, because I would like to make sure that when we're being told that trucks are leaving with mud on the road, the cameras would tell us in real time if they're doing that. So how do we get cameras there for security purpose? And also, I have been at the landfill before when the gate was unlocked after hours. And in the past, that has been a complaint of people living near the landfill, even when Mr. Jameson was there in July or August of 2022. He was complaining about the gate being unlocked on a Sunday afternoon. I think that we need security there, cameras, to tell us. That would free up a lot of time of the employees when the cameras would be there and we can see in real time what's going on.
This is a slightly out of my lane, but as far as the question of how you're trying to collect information that's particularly usable, or I'm using the word broadly as evidence, not like in a court hearing, but with TDEC or with, you know, these people, the type of camera, where it's placed, those are actually a little bit more complex than they sound like they would be. Especially, I mean, if you're trying to check to see that truck traffic is coming into a landfill and it's skipping the scales, for example, you can use a pretty grainy camera from a distance. But if you're trying to look at mud and if it's falling off within the first 50 yards it pulls out of the entrance, or if it's falling off at 100 yards or 150, now you need to really assess your situation. So that may be a very, very good idea, but the devil's going to be in the details. So in order to capture something that is useful, so it might take a little bit of thinking and looking at camera options and where to place them.
Well, there's also the question, when are they taking pictures? Are they taking pictures after it's swept or before it's swept?
Pretty much
So-
my point is when you take, you know, it's the same thing in a lot of cases. If you take a picture from one angle, it looks like one thing. You change an angle, it looks like something else. So for the commission to really ensure that the contractual term is being met and we don't have to have a fight with the third party about that, if we want to collect our own evidence on that, if it's a thing, it just is going to be a question of what kind of camera, where do you put it, and how does it operate?
Well, I think we have a more basic problem. When you look at the contract, I mean, I didn't write the words, but what it says is Contractor responsible for maintaining the landfill to the extent generated or resulting from access to or use of the landfill. All access roads within a quarter mile of the gate to the landfill shall be in a clean and sanitary condition. Now, I really don't know what clean and sanitary means. And the second part of that has to do with TDEC compliance. And we're not the TDEC authority to determine whether there's a violation of TDEC. So those are the two elements of maintaining the roads. So if we want to apply a more rigorous standard, we need to fix this, because this doesn't defend what we're trying to, in my view, trying to execute and impose on the contractor.
Clean and sanitary is actually not, in my estimation, terrible language. It's pretty helpful to the commission. You're right, does it have a lot of detail, but you normally would not see that on that kind of an issue and that kind of a contract probably.
Yeah, so does tracking out of a, out of a driveway onto the highway violate that?
Depends on how much mud you've got, which I think circles us back to getting some data and some pictures and really see what Mr. Byers is complaining about. I'm cautious about this because this is part of life with almost every landfill. There's going to be some of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it really is or isn't an issue, and I think it's hard for the commission to make an assessment without more information. So if someone really wants to do cameras, that's one thing. I'm just saying it's the devil's in the detail about where you put the camera. If it's too far away, you're not going to see anything.
Yeah, I got Mr. Byers' last complaint, and that was about 30 minutes before I drove out there. The roads were dry. There wasn't any residual mud on the road. There was some tracking clearly coming out of the landfill because, gravel dust gets on tires and it gets tracked out. But, you see that on any driveway, gravel entrance to the Highway 72 along that road, and I did see it. So I don't know. I don't know how to define what's good and what's not acceptable, and I would question whether they do either.
Put all your photos in the Dropbox. We'll get you everything we have from Brian Byers. We'll go from there.
I would like to make one comment. When he was taking his pictures, and they're time stamped, and we took our pictures and they were time stamped about 10 minutes before that, or 15, give or take. Our sweeper was actually out there sweeping, so the mud that was tracked out was immediately gotten. Like I believe I said in my email, as much as we strive for perfection, it's going to happen. But it's not like we're just leaving it out there and ignoring it. We are immediately addressing it.
I don't know that. Anything else on that topic? Ready to do all your stuff?
Ready. First is the landfill tonnage report for April. Our 22.5 day average is 556 tons, and our 30-day average is 417 tons. And then after that, we have the summary customer activity report, if you want to review that.
Please do not stop.
Okay.
I have a
And then-
question. Mr. Hollington, do we have any new customers?
No, ma'am, not this month.
What about Lenore City schools?
They've been taken care of by Republic.
Okay, so we do have a new customer.
No,
No?
that you have a new customer picking up the boxes will still be coming to the landfill.
Okay, but what was formerly Brewster, you are now doing the schools? Republic is now doing the schools.
At the request of Lenore City, yes.
What about LCUB?
I think we've got multiple contracts.
Okay. So those are new.
They're not new, they're new customers, but they're not new tons to the landfill.
Well, but they are new to Republic.
They're not new tons to the landfill.
Explain that?
Those tons were already coming to the landfill.
I understand they were, but not by Republic, it was Brewster's.
All I'm concerned about are tons that are coming to the landfill.
Okay.
Please.
We had 9,547 tons of MSW, 2,029 tons of special waste, 928 tons of sludge. Total material was 12,503 tons, which was made up of 76% MSW, 24% special waste, and 7% sludge. And then next is the 2023 MSW and special waste analysis, if you would like to review that. Then after that, we have the tower report. We had a total of 3,495 towers come in April, bringing the annual total to 25,868. And then the host fees, the minimum fee was $10,572.50, brings the security fee percentage to 5%, $20,905.33.
Anything on the airspace utilization report? Anything on the airspace utilization report?
That's a quarterly flyover, it'll be updated at the end of the next quarter.
Okay. TDEC inspection?
That report will be due, for the stormwater or for the last inspection. You've got the stormwater up there.
Okay,
We'll have the last inspection by next week.
okay. Will you send that to us when you got it?
Yes.
The thing you sent today.
So I have a
Go ahead,
question.
please.
So, should the annual engineering report, end of 22, remaining capacity cubic yards, match the permitted remaining airspace number on the here for the end of 22? Should they be the same?
I think I know the answer to that, but I'm gonna get the official answer because I don't wanna say something wrong. So I'll send an email with the official, with the answer.
Thank you.
I think that can be two answers, but I think I know how I need to phrase that.
Okay.
I would like to know the answer also, Mr. Hollingshead.
I think on some of these issues, isn't there gonna be an effort to organize the emails so that they're coming in a way, in a flow pattern, that if it relates to capacity or closure, and again, it could relate to expansion, it's gonna get into the Dropbox. So
If we want those emails in there, yes.
so an answer to that question, that, if I heard it right, that tracks to capacity, lifespan, expansion issue.
Correct.
Then it should get into
Okay.
somehow your process.
Yes. Okay, good to know.
So then everyone can see it who is dealing with expansion issues. Would solve that.
I was asked a question by a member of the public, whether they will be able to access the same information. The information in the Dropbox, since it is public records. Will they be able to, or how will that work?
They would have to send a public records request. I believe the way it's set up is it is public record, but the point is, it's a tool. It's just a tool to start moving the process along, clear up the communication, expedite communication, make sure everyone's looking at the same hymnal page, and there's no longer a process of, oh, so-and-so's got that, he's got that, she doesn't. Just get it into one place, so it'd be no different than any other record-keeping tool utilized by any other government.
So said person would need to do a records request, requesting something specific in the Dropbox.
Or just something specific enough so we know what they're looking for. They cannot get a link into that Dropbox though, because then you'd have to give links to all sorts of people, and now you're corrupting your database about who can get in or get out. You don't want to do that. But the material inside the box would not be confidential unless someone on the commission marked it as such. I see a couple people nodding heads. That could be a good thing, I hope. that's as I understand it, so, I mean, it's being built right now, so whoever wants it, tell them to just wait.
The other thing that I'd like to ask Mr. Hollingshead, at the workshop, I asked, because I had presented this to Mr. Cunningham, and I think I gave you a copy when he was there. It was the process where it shows everything in part 1 and then part 2. And if I understood Mr. Classen correctly, he said that you've already started on the application, part 2. And I requested to see that, and I think he said he was going to have copies for us at this meeting.
We did not get the part 2 completely done. The part 2 will either be submitted for technical review at the workshop or the June meeting.
Well, he was supposed to have it at this meeting, but I would like for that to be, for part 1 and part 2, whatever you've completed, to be placed in the Dropbox so we can look at things ahead of time.
He said he'd bring it to the workshop at the next meeting, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Notice of violation, you wanna go through what you sent us this afternoon?
It's fairly explanatory with the dates and everything's been done through March, in April, and where we are in May.
What about dredging the ponds? I know that was one thing that came up.
I feel like that was a June conversation, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
But I'll get that for you.
So there were a number of actions that were due by the end of April on the NOV from earlier in the year. Those are complete? Okay. So the schedule,
The schedule's
out,
being
I
met.
can go put eyes on all of that, to the extent that I can put eyes on it all.
Trek over the whole place, get your steps in.
I would like to bring up one item for Republic to pay attention to, please. And at the compliance meeting with TDEC, the issue of whether the ponds needed to be dredged did come up. I didn't bring it up, Mr. Classen did. And if the ponds are not properly dredged, then as the stormwater flows in, it's basically gonna start scouring out instead of capturing. So now you have the reverse, the exact opposite of what the rules are requiring the permit holder and the operator to do. So the commission will be looking carefully at numbers, not vague recommendations. And any engineer obviously would know that installing a sediment gauge to mark the depth at which a pond cleaning should occur, we need to know what that depth is. Is right now, how deep is the pond, is the mud? Numbers need to be put on this. The size of the pond, these are all pretty basic engineering calculations to be done, but it all starts with the existing facts out there. How big is the pond? What was its original capacity? How deep is the mud currently? So the gauge doesn't really do you any good, or the commission any good, if it's unclear where you hit the bingo. And if you pass bingo and it needs dredging and it doesn't get dredged, then there's risk to both parties of an NOV or a discharge to the creeks, and now we're into a more complicated and dangerous, potentially expensive process than mud on the road. So if you would just double check that, it sounded like that was already in the hopper, but just double check that with, is it let's say their name's wrong. Promise, right? Promise Engineering. So the way they have that under the sediment pond engineering evaluation is very vague. And it says the pond appears to be adequately constructed to safely route larger storm events. That's not an engineering evaluation, that's a guess. That's a math problem, you just do the math and based on how much mud is in there, that should tell you the answer as to whether it is or is not. So I'm assuming that's all coming, but that's what they'll be looking for in June.
How many ponds are located on the landfill?
Just one.
One? Where's that located?
On the northwest corner.
When we went on our tour and we went to the area where you were dumping, if I was looking straight across to the area that they were dumping, I saw a pond to the far left. Is that what we're talking about?
I think so. I don't know when you went on your tour, or dumping areas.
So you have one sediment pond as part of your SWIP?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You have one sediment pond in your SWIP?
Yes.
So that's the only pond that I saw was from looking straight where Mr. Holling had, where they were dumping, to our extreme left would have been a pond down below. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes,
Is that sediment pond 2?
ma'am. It's the pond on that northwest corner. I don't know the numbering. I apologize.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just asked a minute ago, I thought you said there's only one sediment pond on the property. If the report here mentions this pond 2, so if there's a pond 2, I'm guessing there's a 1, so I misunderstood. There's 2 ponds?
I'm sorry, that's my fault. There's one on the east side too.
Okay.
It's a much smaller pond.
Okay, but
In
there's,
my mind, I was just thinking the big one. I'm sorry.
that's why I asked it, I thought that's one pond on a SWIP for that size seemed awfully minimal. Oh, so there's 2 ponds total?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you need this? Here.
Did you do anything else?
No. No, ma'am. It's in your packet.
Yeah, let me show you yours.
You can't have hers.
No, I made notes. Where's the rest of your packet?
This is the whole thing. This is all part one.
I have a question for Miss
That was the
Murphy.
new packet that we had. Is that the big packet?
It's the one that was laying up there.
Here.
You got a new packet?
Well, it's a supplemental, we'll call it.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's right behind that.
Okay, thank you.
Miss Murphy, I have a
Oh,
question.
yeah, I've seen this. Well, I've seen this one.
Oh, actually, it's not that good. This is what I was referring to, I just quoted.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Murphy, I have a question. This has to do with the 100-acre parcel that the Solid Waste Commission owns. And the reason I was asking about the location of the pond, because I guess I call that big pond the leachate pond. And maybe it's called something else. But I know that a couple of years ago, the reason I'm asking this question, I've been doing some research on the 100 acres. And are we going to, before that property is disturbed in any way, shape, or form, should we be documenting the river, the streams of water that pass through that property to ensure that we have a historical background of what it looks like before any excavation is done? Because it's my understanding it's gonna be an 80-acre excavation by 20 feet. And there are at least 2 little streams, or one of which, I didn't realize it until I started doing some research, is very close to that leachate pond. And the reason that I'm concerned about that is a number of years ago, that leachate pond was cleaned out, and a farmer downstream alleged that the substance that came out of the leachate pond into the creek, or the little creek, he felt that his cows had been poisoned. And I'm just wondering whether we should, just for our sake, that we document what it looks like before, either have a drone service look at the property and take pictures of everything before anything is disturbed on that piece of property that is going to be excavated.
So when you're asking about the 100-acre parcel, you're talking about the parcel land for the soil borrow.
Right, soil borrow.
Is that what we're all talking about?
Right.
Okay, and the two streams are on the soil borrow area, or they are on the soil borrow and the proposed expansion?
It is on the soil borrow area,
Only in there?
only in there, yeah. I think that one of them comes close to the leachate pond, but I don't know to what degree.
And when you're saying leachate pond, just a couple questions. See, I do this to everybody. There shouldn't be a leachate pond on any landfill. It should only be stormwater that's settling out solids. So do you,
Well, I don't know, that's what it's always been called, so I'm not an engineer.
okay. Well, I will look into that and get an answer for you, but I can't do it on the spot.
Okay.
I will
Well,
need a little
that's-
bit more information, which I will get after the meeting, and I will have something back to you.
Okay, that's one concern that I have, because I noticed that those two little creeks or water streams eventually empty out into the Tennessee River. And I went and had some drawings made up that show where it meanders, or where it,
And is the question about documenting the conditions as in the flow path, or whether the stream is currently contaminated with leachate?
well, I don't know. I just want to make sure that we have documentation of before that property is disturbed in any way, shape, or form. And that was one of my questions about the, one of the studies, was whether it included, I was concerned about the water table, whether that study would include anything related to that.
Is that it, Ms. Hunter?
Yeah, I think so.
Does the Republic have anything else? Financials we got this afternoon, I forwarded to everybody, and that's also in your little supplemental packet. Any questions? Okay. Action items, I know Ms. Murphy has a lot now. Sorry, welcome.
I have to review that.
I know you guys are gonna add stuff to Dropbox and get some answers regarding dredging the ponds and whatnot. What else, guys? Ten-year plans there. What else, Mr. Hall?
Nothing here.
Oh, I have a question. Did the acreage issue on the part one get resolved? The number?
Yes, to my satisfaction anyway.
Okay.
There's a basis for the number, so
Okay.
we know what that is.
Ms. Hunter?
I have had grave concern about the 10-year plan, because it's hard for me to understand how we're going to reduce waste by 25% when Republic is in the business to bring in more waste. How are we going to get that done? And it seemed to me that the past solid waste commissions ignored that. because that is the basis of the 10-year plan, is to reduce our waste by 25%. I don't see how we do that by bringing in more waste. I think we need to seriously talk to the cities about starting a recycling program, because not everything should go to the landfill. The county does a real good job of recycling, but the cities are not doing that. So I have a concern about the 10-year plan. How do we meet that legal obligation when bringing in more trash is the goal of the landfill operator and making more money? You know, I don't understand.
I mean, the county has grown so much. I think that's where the trash comes from. I mean, if you just say 25% of it's all going to recycle, look how much the bills has grown.
But we
I mean,
did not meet our 25% reduction this year.
So you don't think the county recycling effort encompasses the city, given that they're sitting in the middle of it?
I think that the cities do not participate in recycling, but the county does. The cities do not have a recycling
But the
program.
county participates through providing access to the public to do recycling,
At
which
the
happens to
county
be located in the
facilities.
cities.
well, yeah, they are the cities.
Yeah,
That's
so
true, but
I don't understand the distinction.
well, I can tell you that I live next to the city. I'm surrounded by the city. I recycle. They don't. They put everything in a garbage can, whether it's plastic, cardboard, whatever, and it goes to the dump. It goes to the landfill. Now, one time, Lenore City attempted to recycle with their curbside, just like Tellico Village. They had their garbage service, and they also had recycling.
But the county's the same thing, it's all voluntary. So if
Yeah,
you
it's
wanna
voluntary.
recycle, you recycle, and if you don't, you don't. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying it's the same situation for the county residents as it is for the city residents.
Well, we didn't meet our 25%.
Well, Mr. Hunter, if you want to call Mayor Harris and Mayor Aiken and talk to them about it, I
Well,
encourage you to do so.
actually, the gentleman with the East Tennessee Development District said that the cities could participate, but really our focus should be with the larger generators, industry, commercial, because that's where we're going to see a big difference. And I suggested to him that we need to talk to Jack Pauls and see if he can get more industry and commercial on board to do recycling, so we can meet our 25% waste reduction.
Please give Jack a call.
I ask a question.
Please.
How is the 25% measured? If your population's gone up by 14.5% in your total, and you're picking up from the same regions and same areas, and your landfill, from a landfill perspective, from the legal perspective, how is it measured? Because if your population's growing and you're actually taking less tonnage per person of the population, you could possibly meet that 25% that way, but your overall amount is actually going up.
Ms. Hunter,
If that makes sense.
can you answer that since you were involved in that report?
The gentleman with the East Tennessee Development District has a formula, and I'll get that information to you.
Yeah, just curious, because
Yeah, they have a formula, and I think it's based also on the historical where we started, and it takes into consideration growth. So they have a set formula on how that computation is done based on population as well.
yeah, if I could say that.
And the statute has a 25% reduction. The vague rule is calculated on per capita basis and weight. Then that formula would take it to an actual way to get to that number so that everyone is playing by the same rules. So the formula plus the statute should answer your question.
Yeah, because some of your biggest customers, I've looked at the ton, some of your biggest customers 10 years ago are very minute today. And those industries have grown, they're still there, but they're doing recycling.
Well, Kimberly-Clark is a zero waste facility, right? Like,
Yeah, a lot of your major manufacturers are going to zero waste. I mean,
yeah.
And so they're recycling, so you're not getting any more, they're using somebody else to recycle and pull it out of their facilities.
Or just recycling in-house.
Well, they pull what there's programs out
Yeah.
there, so.
In here, I know the website is lacking minutes for a while, so I've included a bunch of minutes going back.
Yep.
So we need to review those. Just,
I have notes on September and October because, Mr. Randolph brought up, moving from Loudon to here, to the annex, and in order to do that, since it was written in our bylaws, that our location was at Loudon City, we had to talk about it at the September meeting. It was not noted there. I've come up with some notes to include that in the October meeting.
let's discuss all this at the workshop. I'm saying everybody has it now, so everybody look on the email, past board members as well. Look at the notes, or the dates that are missing from the website that you have in your packet, supplemental from today, and in your email. And we'll discuss all the necessary changes and try to get this cleaned up in June. That work?
One question that I have with the administrative assistant, will the administrative assistant also be assisting with the notes or to meetings?
For instance, the changes you want, I would expect them to help clean those up, yes.
But what about the administrative assistant from this point forward? Are they going to help?
Attend
any-
meetings?
I'm not saying attend the meetings, but, well, maybe I am talking about attending the meetings.
I'm guessing that'd be a no. No to attending meetings.
Okay. So when we're talking about cleaning up the minutes, is the secretary going to be more involved in the meeting minutes?
I think we all make our recommended changes here based on what we get from her.
I know, but
And
in the
then-
bylaws, it says that the secretary is in charge of the meeting minutes, our secretary. Will there be a more active role to keep notes and do some corrections?
We can discuss it at the next meeting when we get a new secretary, because this is his last meeting.
Okay.
Gary? Coming for you, buddy.
Don't look at me. No.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn, I need one.
So moved.
I need a first and a second. Motion, second. Perfect.